Bitcoin crashed hard. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how Bitcoin recently crashed over $15,000, dropping all the way back down to 90 grand. We're going to talk about how Bitcoin failed to hold $100,000 as support architecture and what this may mean for the future of Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin about to go into a massive drop down to $73,800? Are we about to see a massive blast off to $140,000? Or, more likely, are we just going to trade sideways for the next 3 months? Today, we're going to be digging into exactly why Bitcoin went through this massive crash, whether this means that a larger crash is coming, and whether or not you should be selling your Bitcoin. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Coming at you today from Chile, Virginia, I want to first, before we get started, give a major shout out to the Financial Sovereignty Academy. If you want to build the kind of wealth that'll allow you to go on this wonderful trip that we've been on for the last week and a half, then I highly encourage you to check out the Financial Sovereignty Academy with a link in the description box down below. Because in the Financial Sovereignty Academy, we're going to teach you how to take control of your wealth so that you can use it to live a better life with your family. We're going to teach you how to get out of debt, how to build investments, and how to live large with your cryptocurrency position. Make sure to check out FSA with a link in the description box down below. But why did Bitcoin go through this massive crash? One word: boredom. You see, Bitcoin went into this massive bull market here following the election of President Donald Trump, but ever since the inauguration, Bitcoin has mostly been trading sideways because everything that is happening out of the Trump administration is stuff that we already knew was coming. We knew that we were going to see Cynthia Lummis pushing for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We knew that we were probably going to see a more friendly SEC to the cryptocurrency space, which would pass something like SAB 122, which allows for banks now to custody Bitcoin. We also knew that we were going to most likely see more ETFs coming. We now have an Ethereum and Bitcoin combined ETF, and we've also got ETF applications in the works for XRP, Cardano, Solana, and Litecoin. Most of what's going on right now in cryptocurrency, we knew was coming, which is why we went through this massive rally in the first place. What we really need now is some fresh news that is going to show us things are changing once again. Let's not forget, from the election day, Bitcoin rallied over $40,000 in less than 80 days. For a mature asset like Bitcoin that is worth nearly $2 trillion, to rally over 1% a day is a really big deal. The fact that Bitcoin managed to do that is a testament to its strength. But now, most of the world's markets are simply trading sideways. You see, it's not just Bitcoin that went on a massive rally following the election and then has been trading sideways recently. The United States S&P 500 has done the same thing with a rally from 571 points all the way up about 7%, 40 points up to 610 immediately after the election. But ever since then, we've seen the S&P 500, the United States stock market, trading sideways also. The only asset that's been performing extremely well since the election that hasn't completely stalled is the gold market. But honestly, when you consider the fact that gold has not really moved much of anything in the last 10 years other than the year of 2024, it kind of makes sense. Gold sat here stuck below $200 since back in 2010 when all those commercials on TV with the Native American on the gold coin were circling. Who remembers that? Everybody was trying to sell us gold back in the 2000s. Anyway, quite simply, Bitcoin is bored because everything that's happening right now we already knew was coming from the inauguration. So what gives? Where are we going next? Well, let's look at some of the technicals because I think it'll help to shine some light on what the future holds. One of the biggest concerns that I have with our current market is the fact that Bitcoin was holding $100,000 as support architecture ever since the beginning of this administration. We saw Bitcoin drop down to $100,000 after the inauguration of President Donald Trump, and we bounced. We then fell back down towards the $100,000 range here around January 26th, but then we bounced again. We rallied right back up to the same flat top level of resistance around 107, but recently we dropped almost $16,000 back down to local support at 91,000, leading us below $100,000 and now leaving us with local resistance at 100K once again. This, in some respects, does mean that $100,000 has now become a big level of resistance once again. It really comes down to whether or not Bitcoin's above 100K or below 100K to whether or not we're bullish or bearish. A lot of times when you look at an oscillator, you'll see that if the oscillator is above a certain center line, then that means that you're in bullish territory. However, if you are below the center line, then you are typically in bearish territory. Right now, what we're seeing happen is that $100,000 is acting as our center line on the price action of Bitcoin. As we sit above $100,000, Bitcoin sits in bullish territory. As we sit below $100,000, Bitcoin sits in very bearish territory. It's a little bit like how right now it is below 36 degrees out here, so it is quite cold. But I thought you'd like to view the mountains behind me. Sylvan's in Switzerland. What is it, -10 over there? In centigrade, it's probably -10. I bet it's probably like -10 over there in Switzerland right now. I have no idea what the temperature is. I know that this is like a light jacket for you guys over there, though. There's a skiing jacket here. So with $100,000 being new resistance, we've got to figure out whether or not Bitcoin is actually going to be able to break back through $100,000 or not. One of my biggest concerns at the time that I'm recording this anyway is that Bitcoin has gone through this massive crash down here from 106,000 down to 91,000, but we've only bounced back up to 100,000. We haven't been able to break back through it, indicating that $100,000 $100,000 is holding fast. We can also see here with the drop below $100,000, Bitcoin has also dropped below the 20 daily exponential moving average, which is a very important moving average that was holding us as support well before the inauguration. We entered into a confirmed uptrend right here on the 15th of January when we broke above the 20 DEMA confidently and rallied all the way up to new all-time high. As of recently, though, we dropped below the 20 DEMA and had a major correction, which shows us that we are no longer holding the 20 DEMA, which means this uptrend that has been in play for the last 3 weeks is technically speaking over. Does that mean that that uptrend is over for good? No, it just means that Bitcoin can't make up its darn mind right now, and this reminds me quite a lot of what we've seen happen in recent memory with Bitcoin, so let's take a look at the chart. This market that we're in right now reminds me extremely much of the market that we saw here in the summer of 2024. Bitcoin went through a massive rally on the news of BlackRock's ETF launching, and we saw a massive amount of inflows into the BlackRock ETF along with the Fidelity ETF and all the others. But Bitcoin only went on a rally here for about 60 days, where we saw Bitcoin rally about 90%. It was a massive rally, but then Bitcoin had to take a breather because it was such a big rally. Instead of continuing just straight up to the moon, straight up to $100,000, Bitcoin stopped at 73,800, and we traded sideways, sometimes above the 20 DEMA, sometimes below the 20 DEMA for the next 6 months. During that time, we also saw massive liquidation events like we saw over the last 48 hours, where we saw over $2 billion liquidated from the Bitcoin market in the largest liquidation event that Bitcoin has ever seen in history. Yeah, that happened yesterday. So, my conclusion is not right now that Bitcoin's about to drop down to 73. My conclusion is not that Bitcoin is about to rally up to 140. My conclusion is that people are still taking profits from that huge 60% movement that we saw happen back in November and December. And right now, people are waiting to see whether or not we're going to see some of these states get a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're waiting to see whether or not El Salvador is going to backtrack from its backtrack and actually make Bitcoin a legal currency again because they capitulated to the IMF. Ugh. We're going to see if the strategic Bitcoin reserve gets approved at the federal government level, and we're also going to see if banks are going to start buying Bitcoin now that they have the ability to under SAB 122 from the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, which allows banks to custody Bitcoin now. We are in a holding pattern because we've already seen the major uptrend from all this news that we're currently living in the reality of. We knew it was coming, so it was priced in. Now we're consolidating, and the weak hands are getting shaken out. Anybody that's been watching our channel understands that Bitcoin is a force of nature that cannot be stopped. It's going to lead to a massive, massive, massive bull market, and the people that hold Bitcoin are going to be the people that have the ability to transfer wealth from those that are holding fiat currencies to those of us that are holding decentralized currencies, namely Bitcoin, and so they're buying Bitcoin and they're holding it. We bought the dip. I hope you did too, and I think a lot of other people that really understand what Bitcoin is and where it's going are doing the same. As these liquidations are happening, as some of the retail is panic selling, you're seeing big names like Michael Saylor, the United States federal government, 13, 14 different states in the United States of America, and BlackRock buying Bitcoin hand over foot because they understand what the reality is, that the next 5 to 10 years are going to be hugely bullish because of just what Bitcoin is, which is fundamentally a better version of gold. It does gold better than gold does gold, and people are starting to wake up to that and realize that. And so Bitcoin only goes on for so long here without having this enormous rally up to $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 that we're all expecting, because the maturity of the space is really starting to shine. Over the next 4 years, you're going to see an enormous amount of adoption from the United States federal government and from the state governments of Bitcoin and, frankly, other cryptocurrencies. We're going to see a massive uptrend on Bitcoin, and so that is why we buy and hold Bitcoin every single day. That is also why we fought so hard to get out of debt, so that we could make sure that we could enjoy our life and so that we could buy more Bitcoin, and I want to teach you exactly how to do that as well. I'm up here in beautiful Virginia. I love being able to take my family on trips because we've been responsible with money, and I want to teach you how to do the same thing. So if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Financial Sovereignty Academy, which is the sponsor of today's video. We built it. We are continuing to build it. We've got videos coming out as soon as we get back to Florida. We've got more content coming there all the time. It's growing, and I can't wait to see some of your shining faces in the Financial Sovereignty Academy because I want to help you guys succeed financially and, frankly, just live a great life. I want to help you be financially sovereign over your wealth, and I want to help see you guys succeed. I love hearing your success stories. Leave some of them in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. A lot of new content coming, some on-location content, but also some content in studio will be coming pretty soon, so we'll be back in Florida here in a couple of days before we go back out again. Really hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.